Change often begins through three distinct encounters with reality. Each experience carries different lessons and consequences, depending on how you respond. The first occurs when you collide with reality through your own choices. The second happens when external forces impose reality on you. The third, and most balanced, comes when you choose to align and work with reality itself. The first kind of experience arises when your actions or inactions cause conflict with the truth of your situation. It might appear as a literal collision, such as walking into a glass door because you were distracted or unaware. It might also take a psychological form, such as believing you can achieve the impossible or ignoring clear warning signs. These situations are generally avoidable, yet they result from misjudgment or denial. They reveal how ignoring facts or limits can lead to harm that could have been prevented. When you crash into reality, the result is often painful. The experience may be embarrassing, dangerous, or deeply humbling. It shows that good intentions cannot protect you from consequences. If you choose to drive while impaired, for example, you believe you are in control when you are not. The crash that follows demonstrates the hard boundary between assumption and fact. The lesson is that reality will always assert itself, no matter how much you resist it. The second type of experience occurs when reality imposes itself without your choice. Events such as illness, accidents, or economic decline come from forces beyond your control. These moments can feel unfair or random, especially when you have acted responsibly. Yet they are reminders that control has limits. Even when you take every precaution, nature, time, or circumstance can intervene. Facing this second scenario requires humility and adaptability. A sudden job loss or an unexpected diagnosis can alter the direction of your life overnight. The challenge lies in accepting that certain outcomes are not preventable. Your test of strength comes not from avoidance, but from response. You can choose to collapse under the shock or find new ways to move within the changed conditions. Acceptance in this context does not mean surrender, but acknowledgement of what cannot be changed. While the first two experiences can bring suffering or loss, the third invites you to cooperate with the world as it is. To participate in reality means to recognize its patterns and work with them. This is an active and aware state, not a passive one. It reflects the mindset of someone who understands that life unfolds through complex and often uncontrollable forces, yet sees opportunity within them. Participation in reality resembles harmony with a natural rhythm. Imagine an eagle gliding on unseen air currents, or a surfer balancing on a moving wave. Neither the eagle nor the surfer controls the elements, but both understand them well enough to move with grace. In your own life, this might mean recognizing when to act, when to wait, and when to adapt. You do not try to dominate events, but learn to engage with them intelligently. This approach builds resilience. When you participate in reality, you can adjust to changing circumstances because you accept the nature of change itself. You do not view uncertainty as a threat, but as a constant element of living. This mindset allows calm under pressure and flexibility during disruption. It also prevents the emotional exhaustion that comes from resisting what cannot be altered. Monsieur Scott Peck draws a clear line between emotional sickness and emotional health. Emotional sickness, he observes, involves avoiding reality at any cost. It reflects a deep fear of truth and an attachment to illusion. When you are in this state, you may cling to denial, hoping to preserve a sense of comfort or control. You expend energy hiding from facts, which only increases your anxiety and confusion. Emotional health, on the other hand, demands facing reality at any cost. It calls for courage and honesty, even when the truth is painful. When you are emotionally healthy, you understand that growth depends on seeing things as they are. By meeting reality directly, you gain clarity, stability, and purpose. You may still suffer loss or failure, but you avoid the additional pain of self-deception. In daily life, you can see these three scenarios play out in personal, professional, and social settings. You might crash into reality when you refuse to adjust a failing plan. You might feel reality crash into you when a crisis strikes without warning. You participate in reality when you anticipate challenges and adapt before they become problems. In each case, your level of awareness and acceptance determines your outcome. Learning to participate in reality requires reflection and discipline. It involves observing patterns, listening to feedback, and acknowledging mistakes. It also depends on a willingness to let go of rigid expectations. When you hold fixed ideas of how things should be, you resist change. When you engage with how things truly are, you find greater effectiveness and peace. This engagement is not a single moment, but an ongoing practice. It involves both perception and action. You must learn to discern what you can influence and what you cannot. Trying to control the uncontrollable leads to frustration, while neglecting what you can improve leads to stagnation. The balanced path lies between effort and acceptance. The transition from crashing into reality to participating in it often begins with awareness. Painful experiences from the first two scenarios can serve as teachers. When you have ignored limits and faced the results, you learn respect for them. When you have endured loss or shock, you discover new strength and acceptance. Through such lessons, you become more capable of participating with clarity and balance. At its core, change motivated by participation reflects maturity. It acknowledges your limits while embracing your power of conscious choice. It transforms reaction into cooperation. Instead of viewing reality as an enemy to overcome, you see it as a partner to engage. This relationship creates both stability and growth. Your relationship with reality determines emotional and practical outcomes. When you deny or resist what is true, you experience confusion and repeated disappointment. When you align with what is true, you experience understanding and progress. The difference lies not in circumstance, but in perception. To live in emotional health, you must cultivate the habit of facing truth consistently. This practice begins in small acts of honesty and extends to major decisions. It shapes how you interpret setbacks, manage expectations, and relate to others. Facing reality builds trust, both within yourself and in your relationships. The three scenarios of change form a path from avoidance to cooperation. Crashing into reality and being struck by it both involve resistance or helplessness. Participating in reality represents conscious harmony. M. Scott Peck's insight highlights that growth requires courage to meet truth without evasion. When you face reality rather than hide from it, you find both change and freedom. By recognizing the limits of control and the opportunities within them, you learn to act with purpose instead of reaction. Participation in reality leads to steadiness and emotional health, guiding you toward genuine and lasting change.